Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
You should note this is the first poll that we've seen conducted entirely after Joe Biden rolled out that video last Thursday, Allison. And there is the horse race, as you said. Joe Biden way out in front, 39% of Democrats are backing him, 15% for Sanders. And you see the next four, Warren, Buttigieg, O'Rourke, and Harris, all sort of grouped together in that next tier. Let's look at where they were last month in our poll compared to now. And look at that Biden movement. That's 11 points higher than he was just a month ago. This clearly is a bounce out of his rollout, out of his announcement. The only other candidate to make a big jump, Buttigieg, went from 1% to 7%. But you see Warren holds steady. O'Rourke and Harris go from double digits to single digits. Even Bernie Sanders went down a bit, all to the benefit of Biden and a bit to Buttigieg. Here is one thing I want to sort of caveat, just so folks are aware, where the support is coming from. Look at this. Among white Democrats versus non-white Democrats, Joe Biden's commanding lead is being fueled by this huge lead among non-white voters. He's at 50% compared to Sanders at 14%. He's still leading among white voters, but not by that huge margin that he is among non-white voters.
Wow, that is really something. That is really telling, isn't it? No. It's very early. But we do have three polls today, three of them. There is a CNN poll. Obviously, that is what they were going through the numbers there. That's the CNN internal poll. Biden is at 39%, and 50% of non-white voters support Joe Biden. That's really a lot. I have to tell. That is just. I don't know why. Somebody's going to have to tell me. I guess I need to open the phones to black women today. Why black women aren't supporting Kamala Harris, or why black women are supporting Joe Biden, and why black women really don't like Bernie Sanders. I mean, I'm not clear about the reason. So, you could fill me in. But Biden's got 39% of the polling, 50%. Of non-white Democrats are going to support Biden at this early stage. Bernie is down to 15% support. Elizabeth Warren in the CNN poll gets 8% support. Buttigieg is 7%, Beto 6%, and Kamala only gets 6% of the Democratic, so far early, people who are paying attention. And then shortly after CNN came out with their poll, Quinnipiac came out with their poll, and it's almost identical. Biden in the Quinnipiac poll gets 38%. Warren actually does better than Bernie in the Quinnipiac poll, just by a little. They kind of flip places. Warren gets number 2 with 12% support. Sanders 11%, Buttigieg 10%. Kamala 8% and O'Rourke 5%. And then there's a New Hampshire poll out where Biden gets 36%, Sanders gets 22%, and Warren only gets 9%. I'm not sure what this is. Is it name recognition? I don't know. But the number that jumped out to me is how much support from non-white voters Joe Biden is getting. And it's interesting to me because, that whole crime bill, 1994, just got to say that was that's going to be the same exact argument that was leveled against Hillary that's going to be leveled against Joe Biden. So I'm not real clear, but someone will explain it to me. Meanwhile, Bernie has an op-ed in USA Today defending his position on incarcerated people getting the right to vote, not stripped away from them. And it's very simple, where he just says our country has a terrible record on voter suppression, and that after Jim Crow, and the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which gave civil and legal protections to formerly enslaved people, a lot of the states decided that they would make new felonies. And they did. They created new felonies to put black people in jail. And then they instituted a lifelong disenfranchisement rule to go along with if you've ever been in jail. So you create new felonies, you target African American people, you lock them up, and then you say, oh, and by the way, you've given up your enfranchisement. You've given it up for the rest of your life. Now, this country is very, inundated with mass incarceration, and so what you have here is 4.5 million Americans who are. And they are disproportionately people of color who cannot vote. They have lost their right to vote. So some states have done, better. Florida had Amendment 4, as you know. 64% of Floridians showed up in the last election and restored people who had served their times voting rights. And now the Republicans in the state house and the Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, they want a poll tax on those people who have had their rights restored by virtue of the people voting to restore their voting rights, right? So now they want them to have paid every bit of restitution, all their legal bills, because, here you got to pay your public defender before they get their right to vote. So that's just another way to disenfranchise people after the voters have spoken. In Georgia, you have a Republican governor who instituted barriers so that Stacey Abrams, she still thinks she won because of the mass voter disenfranchisement effort that was, done there. It wasn't even attempted. It was, it was achieved. Tennessee, they're trying to shut down groups who do voter registration work. New Hampshire and Iowa, they're trying to make it harder for college students to vote. I mean, the people who ripped us off on Wall Street in 2008, these are the real crooks. And yet we don't take away their right to vote, do we? Oh, hell no. And that's what Bernie Sanders was talking about. So I'm not sure why this is that he doesn't get the support of people whose issues he actually takes up. So it's interesting. Elizabeth Warren, she's very policy heavy. She has a way of paying for things. She lays out plans to take the yoke of debt off of our young people who have done nothing but educate themselves. She puts out a plan. It's clear how she would pay for it. She puts out Bernie, it's clear how he would, pay for Medicare for all and how much money we would all end up saving and how it would be a boom to this economy because people would have more money in their pockets to spend on this. So I'm not really sure. And then, but Joe Biden, he showed up and everybody's like, yeah, I like Joe. I want Joe. I need Joe. Joe is my guy. I love Joe. Uncle Joe, Uncle Joe. I mean, it's just so strange. But anyway, this was what he said in Pittsburgh yesterday.
Let me tell you why I chose Pittsburgh to begin this effort. I believe that Pittsburgh and my native town of Scranton and my hometown of Wilmington and Claymont, they represent the cities and towns that make up hardworking middle-class Americans who are the backbone of this nation. That's not hyperbole, the backbone of this nation. I also came here because, quite frankly, folks, if I'm going to be able to beat Donald Trump in 2020, it's going to happen here. It's going to happen here. There are three basic reasons why I'm running for president of the United States. The first is to restore the soul of the nation, and the second is to rebuild the backbone of this nation. And the third is to unify this nation. We always do better when we act as one America. Today I want to speak about the second of these three, and that's rebuilding the backbone of America. And that is that we have time, all my time in public life from since I've gotten involved, I've been referred to as middle-class Joe. It's not always meant as a compliment. It's usually that I'm not sophisticated. That's why I'm middle-class Joe. But the fact of the matter is, I'm awfully sophisticated about why, how, and who built this country. Let me say this simply and clearly, and I mean this. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. It was built by you. It was built by the great American middle class.
Well, all true enough, but the destruction of unions is pretty much what destroyed the backbone. It's what destroyed the middle class. And there's been this consistent hacking away at unions over the past decades to the point where only 10% of U.S. workers are unionized, meaning they can't collectively bargain for better wages. School teachers across this country have walked out. Strikes are becoming something you can see again. How does he sell us this?
Oh!
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We are putting our great coal miners back to work.
He's trying to get their votes. He isn't telling them the truth.
He's lying to them.
He's lying to them.
You used to work in this mine.
I worked in this mine. I was a face boss.
For 52 years, Art Sullivan worked in and consulted on mines around the world, and he bristles every time he hears the president claim to be the savior of coal.
And that really disturbs me, because these are really good people. These are the people that I've spent my life working with. And if they have the truth, they will make the right decisions.
If the president was honest, he would explain to those folks that mines like this are never, ever coming back to life again. Not because of regulation, but competition. Coal just cannot compete with cheaper, cleaner natural gas, wind, and solar. That's the reason more coal-fired power plants have gone out of business in the first 2 years of Donald Trump and the first 4 years of Barack Obama. Another 20 are expected to go down this year. And if a miner is hired today, chances are he'll be digging to fill the demand in India.
You know, it's really sad. I have to tell you, it's very sad how Donald Trump lied to, people who obviously could be retrained. I mean, if you're a coal miner, you know a lot of stuff. You know a lot about mechanics. You know a lot about electricity. You know a lot about, business. But Donald Trump just lies to people, and he plays this racial resentment card. And I'm not really sure, where in the world the people in West Virginia are when it comes to, the Democrats now. I'm not sure if, we can take West Virginia or, Pennsylvania or I just, I don't see how if the same, if Biden stands up and he's trying to take on Donald Trump on a debate stage, the two of them are going to be sitting there arguing about who shut down more coal mines, Donald Trump or Barack Obama. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't you want to compare and contrast? Doesn't anybody want to move into the 21st century? I'm not really sure what this is all about with this love for Joe, because Joe will stand on the stage and Joe's record is that he voted for NAFTA and he voted for TPP and he voted for Iraq. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So somebody's going to have to explain it to me. Jay in Santa Fe.
Yeah, hi. First time caller.
Oh, really? Hi.
Hi. Yes, the reason you're saying you don't understand why I'm going for burning the minorities.
Yeah.
I just have a theory that basically Bernie came out and said that he doesn't support reparations. And Kamala Harris, I don't understand why Kamala Harris is not getting more support.
I don't either.
Elizabeth too. But it's definitely Kamala Harris. I don't know that. But the other thing, too, is that Joe Biden, he's an establishment. He's connected to Obama, so they're not seeing the past, they're seeing Obama. And so they maybe he's like Obama.
You're breaking up really bad. But your deal is reparations, right? And so you're saying that because Bernie said that we could do better than writing a check, you think that African Americans are throwing their support to Biden? You think Biden's going to support reparations? I mean, Obama didn't.
I don't know. I'm saying what I was saying was you thought that I was breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Gary, where are you?
Hey, Randy.
Oh, Gary. Hi.
Yeah, hey. I think the reason that the non-whites are supporting Biden is because for 8 years he was President Obama's vice president. And they were a team, and they worked together well. And I think it's a carryover effect from that.
It could be that. It could actually be that. But maybe it's just pragmatism. Maybe people just think that, Biden and Trump that's a good matchup for, the moderate part of the country who, voted for Trump because they could. How much more centrist can you get than Hillary Clinton, though? You know what I mean? That's why I don't get it. And people just couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, and some people literally voted for Donald Trump because they couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton.
Or they didn't show up at all.
Because, of the memes that were going around and the BS about Hillary.
Sure, the Russian bots.
Yeah, exactly. But why do we think that Biden's going to do better on stage with Trump when Biden's record is everything that the Republicans are against he was for?
Well, I think he'll do better than Hillary myself. Why? I don't know. Maybe because he's a man. Yeah,
but she did get 3 million more votes. It just, somebody did something that was evil and untoward. And, by 22,000 votes, you hand over a whole state of Wisconsin, or 11,000 votes, you get, Pennsylvania. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me why we would want, another matchup like this.
Hey, Randy, as long as I got you on the phone, I'd like to tell you something that's a little off subject, if you don't mind.
I know what it is.
Okay, I just want to tell you how unbelievably great it feels. I mean, you're going to get it someday. Hopefully all your other listeners are going to get it someday. I've been to the doctor 4 times this month.
Gary,
different doctors. It's great.
Happy birthday, Gary. Happy 65th birthday. He got his Medicare. Isn't it
really,
the best? I know.
It's the best, Randy.
I watch Howard use his, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm still paying, every month like $2,000.
Well, I'm still paying for Julie, and I'm on with Julie, and so now I have double coverage, and so when I go, I don't pay anything.
So good. Congratulations.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Happy birthday, Gary.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, today is Gary's 65th birthday. Rhonda in Erie. Oh, hi, Rhonda. I was hoping you'd call.
Hey. Yes. Congratulations, Gary.
Yes.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Black women are supporting Joe Biden, and I think black people in general are supporting Joe Biden for a reason one of the reasons that you said earlier, which is pragmatism.
Yeah.
So I was having a discussion with somebody, a Latino man, a friend of mine, a few months ago, and I was saying that I think that the next Democratic nominee has to be a white man. And he was very upset with me because he thought that I was saying that that's what I wanted. It's not necessarily what I wanted, but what I said was I think that this is what a lot of people of color are thinking. Because of the sweeping change that has to occur, with this election, and that the only kind of person that the rest of the country is going to accept this kind of radical change from, New Deal type stuff change from, is a white man. Joe Biden does not have the best record, but here's what he has. He's got white man charm, right? He can walk into a room and he can get along with liberal folks, but most importantly, he can go shake the hand of these racists that we see every single day who are trying to tear down this nation and make them feel okay about the change that is coming. He might even be able to pull them to his side.
But Rhonda, check this out. I mean, if he's standing on his stage, I get you, I hear you. And you make excellent points. I just got to say, if I see Biden on a stage with Trump and there's this, Charlottesville conversation, isn't Trump going to turn to Biden and say, but you were friends with Robert Byrd, an the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan? I mean, doesn't everything old become new again?
Yes, but someone will get to him before that point. Because we're already talking about it.
Yeah,
his people are talking about it.
Oh, definitely. There's no question. I see it already. I feel it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for your perspective. I was wondering what you were thinking today, actually.
That's it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome.
All right. Yeah, I mean, pragmatism. I hear that.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. That is the main story, and it's a story that needs to be told and retold over and over again because we were the subject of a foreign adversary's attack, an attack on our election, an attack on our sovereignty, an attack on our democracy. And you can try to figure out everything that did happen, and we're a long way from knowing, because we need to get the full report, the unredacted version, and certainly the Congress deserves to get it. But I think it's fair to say that this is not just about a reckoning with the recent past. This is about what is going on today and the threats to our next election, to our defense as a nation. So, Edward, I think the report is long, and it obviously takes time to wade through it, but especially for this group, it's something that every American who cares about holding our adversaries accountable, looking to prevent what happened from ever happening again, should take the time to go through. And I'm really of the mind that the Mueller report is part of the beginning. It's not the end. Maybe, as Churchill famously said, it's the end of the beginning, because there's still so much more that we should know and that we should act upon. And obviously that's what the Congress is trying to figure out what to do right now.
So there she is. That's Hillary Clinton, and she's talking about the Mueller report, and she was obviously the target of all this effort by a foreign adversary. So it's interesting to hear what she has to say about it. I would like to know what Joe Biden's answer would be to a question about when this was going on, and you were the vice president of the United States, and Barack Obama was the president of the United States. What did you do? What did you do to stop it? What did you do to alert the American people? What did you? And I realize it's going to be a difficult answer. Why? Because Donald Trump was on the campaign trail, knowing that the election was being rigged by a foreign adversary, but insinuating that the election was rigged by Hillary Clinton, and he still does it today. So the idea that Biden has to answer the question, what did you do, is not an easy answer, because obviously if Obama or Joe Biden started to tell the American people that the election was rigged and that it was being hacked by Russians, it would have played right into Donald Trump's hand. That's why Donald Trump, remember, we could not figure out why is Donald Trump saying the election is rigged? What happens if he wins? Well, now we know. The election was rigged. That's why he was saying the election was rigged. And when he won, he blamed Hillary Clinton for the rigging, and we know it was a foreign adversary. So this man, he's a world heavyweight champion liar, but he's also a fabulous politician. That's the thing about Donald Trump. He's so shameless, and everyone around him that's left are so shameless that they will look you square in the face. They will look you dead in the eye, and they will lie to your face. And they will point over there, and they will blame somebody else. And that is what they taught their supporters to do. Blame somebody else. So I don't know how Joe Biden answers that question. That's the whole problem. Well, it's not the whole problem, but it's part of the problem of thinking ahead to what a debate between Donald Trump and the Democratic nominee would look like. John in New York.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, John.
Long time listener. Love you very much.
Thank you.
Mark Thompson on Sirius mentioned that Joe Biden is loved by the African American community because he goes to all the NAACP meetings. He knows everybody by their first name. He's reached out to them throughout his whole career.
I think John was coming to us from the wing of a plane, Randy.
It sounded like he hopped a ride in the wheel of a plane. It sounded like he was calling from another planet. John in Atlanta.
Hi, Randy.
Hello.
First time, long time.
Hello.
Oh, All right. Anyway, hey, I just wanted to ask you to be careful how you go after Biden.
I'm not going after him. I'm just explaining the real world.
Yeah, but it almost sounds like...
Which includes his real record of voting.
I understand. But, allow people to fall in love, like you said.
Oh, you could fall in love. I mean, you could tell me anything you want to tell me. That's why I'm asking you. I mean, I don't have a guy. I don't have a girl. I'm just, like I said, I at least want to get to June for the first debate. No? I mean, don't you at least want to see that? So.
Well, I do want to do that, but I don't think you should go at him like you're going at him since the start of your show today. I think you should just. There's a way to ask the question without.
I'm just asking. That's all I'm doing is asking.
I know. But allow people to fall in love. That's all I have. That's all I want to say.
Well, why do you like them?
Don't go too hard at them.
Well, so why do you? Well,
I want to hear everybody. To be honest
me too.
With you,
so what is that?
I don't know who I want right now. I really don't.
Right. But neither do I.
But I don't want you to poison the well against Biden. I think the way you ask the question.
So as far as the well is concerned, whatever's in the well, Biden voted in the well. Whatever he did is already done. So I can't poison anything.
Well, rehashing it and stirring it up.
I mean,
again.
if you don't rehash what he was for and what he was against, if you're not willing to keep an open mind during the debates and hear a new way of doing things, or somebody whose record is counter to, voting for NAFTA or voting for TPP or voting for the Iraq war, then, you're not really prepared to actually make a decision. So I think everybody needs to be clear about how these candidates, what they bring to the stage as far as a record, because they have one. Bernie has one. Senator Warren has one. Joe Biden has one. And they all have records in the Senate. That's just a gimme. That's just a fact.
Be fair and do that across the board.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Bernie was against the Iraq war. Joe Biden was for the Iraq war. Bernie was against TPP and NAFTA. Joe Biden was for TPP and NAFTA. It's just a fact. I didn't put that in the well. That's what Joe put in the well when he cast his vote. I mean, I wasn't, Bernie and Elizabeth Warren weren't there when Anita Hill, was trying to warn us about sexual harassment and the unfitness of a Clarence Thomas. So to be fair, I'll say Joe Biden, in the end, voted against Clarence Thomas ascending to the Supreme Court. But Joe Biden was the Judiciary Chairman who refused to call 3 other female witnesses on behalf of Anita Hill, who would have said everything she said could be corroborated because they saw it. I didn't poison that well. That is what's in the well. And I didn't put it there.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
This was a guy that had a kill list. He had a manifesto. He was inspired by a Norwegian mass murderer, white nationalist who killed over 70 people, slaughtered dozens and dozens of children at a day camp. And Donald Trump and Attorney General Barr and the Trump Justice Department let him walk.
Yeah, the incidents and the lethality of violence that we're seeing right now are far higher. The other thing is these folks have weapons. Oftentimes they have training, and they know what the targets are. If you looked at Cesar Sayak, for example, the guy who sent the bombs, his targeting looked a lot like Hassan when he was arrested in Washington, D.C. If you look across what these targets are, we treat them as one-offs. What is it? It's a synagogue, it's a mosque, it's an African-American church. What's common amongst all those? It's not
Clint,
white.
In the case of the 2 men you just named, they were either Trump critics or people who were running against Donald Trump for the United States.
And
they're on kill lists. They're on target lists. Now, Clint, you tell me, why isn't Barr bringing charges So a judge who is afraid of Hassan and afraid that he'll commit acts of violence when he is released, why aren't they charging him?
There's no good reason. The only reason is international terrorists don't vote and domestic terrorists do vote.
Oh my
God. And it has to do with politics. This is intertwined in our own politics today. They are inspired oftentimes by political rhetoric. If you took a lot of the statements by politicians right now in this country and you compare them to what Al-Qaeda or ISIS clerics said that inspired attacks around the world over the last decade, they would look remarkably similar. This is incitement to violence in many cases.
Are you talking about Donald Trump here, enemy of the people? And
that's exactly right. Yeah. Talking about people as animals or dogs, talking about people as being lesser humans.
It just takes your breath away. So the reason why our Justice Department won't hold white supremacist terrorists with kill lists, won't charge them with domestic terrorism, is because domestic terrorists vote. That just takes your breath away. Fox News, they sound exactly like the white supremacists on that news network. And so here we are trying to, figure out who's the best candidate to go up against Donald Trump and Fox News. And I just don't want a rematch. I just don't want another 2016. I just don't. And the Russians haven't gone away, and this just feels like it's I don't know. It just feels like a redo. It just does. Diane in Florida. May I help you? Joseph in Colorado.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Awesome. First time, long time.
Woo.
Hey, so I'm looking at the map, right? Like, just take the 2016 electoral map.
Yeah.
And flip Ohio and Pennsylvania. And you get 270 Democrat, exactly. 268 Republican. And so the one thing, I am not a Biden fan necessarily because, you can go plagiarism, you can get the smarmy weirdness that he is with even like little girls and stuff. Like, he's got some issues.
Okay, so that's an issue I don't think he has. Tell you the truth.
Oh, you don't? Seriously?
No,
you can
honestly.
get by that?
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
I don't want to live in a world without affection. He is a very affectionate person. I actually know him. There is.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. And
oh, cool.
There is nothing, there is no intention to make you feel. In fact, his intention is to make you feel comfortable. His intention by doing the things that he does, like holding your shoulders before you go out on the stage, or leaning in to really.
Okay.
It's
no,
all.
I get it.
It's all
especially
motivated.
if you've been there, so I get it.
Oh yeah, it's motivated by kindness and goodness. There is nothing, dastardly or sexually, overt or irritating about him. He's just an affectionate guy, and I've said this before. I don't want to live in a country where nobody can show affection to another person, especially when that other person really needs to be, pumped up to go out on a stage or given, a little bit of love when they're grieving. What is wrong with that?
Or what happened with Al Franken, right? Like,
exactly, that was wrong
ridiculous.
too. That was completely ridiculous. That was, and that's why I would never consider Kirsten Gillibrand.
Well, exactly, me too. So here's the other thing, though. I so want a woman president. Like, so much.
Yeah.
And so I was all about Kamala Harris. I was thinking, like, oh, she's my girl. Like, she's got to go, right? Let's go. And, but just it's like a personality thing. Like, she's got, and the same thing with Elizabeth Warren. Awesome, brilliant, certainly should be president. But it's just the way that people respond to her personality that doesn't actually win. So with Biden, because Trump is so crucially deadly and needs to be done, I think Biden could flip Ohio and Pennsylvania and actually get to 270 and win. That's it.
Right. So
because of his working class Joe kind of.
So it's pragmatism again, and America still isn't ready for a female president, which is just
aren't
bizarre. It's just
Do you
bizarre.
know who I want?
Bizarre.
If it was possible, but she's 10 years too young. AOC.
Yeah.
That girl should be president.
She will be.
She will be. I agree. But unfortunately, I think that she'll be the first woman president.
Oh, that would be so bad.
I think it might take that long. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
But if you think about it,
but what is it about me? What is it about women? What is it about me? What's wrong with me?
It's just men is the problem, obviously.
So I can't live with you and I can't kill you? I mean, what do I do with you?
I don't know. Maybe you should kill us.
No, I'm not a killer.
No, I'm kidding. But seriously, it's just so bad because I wasn't. I was a huge Hillary fan, back in the day, in '94.
Yeah.
Early Clinton years.
Yeah.
And then, but I phone banged for Bernie. I mean, I've been down with Bernie since he was mayor. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of that guy.
Right.
And
well, here's the thing with Bernie. Okay, just so everybody knows that I'm being fair here. So this crime bill is going to come up with this mass incarceration thing, and Bernie voted for it too. So Biden voted for it, and Bernie voted for it.
Hillary voted for it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. These. So you start putting one issue on top of the other issue on top of the other issue. So Bernie can distance himself. I mean, I will say Biden is going to explain. I believe he'll explain his vote for the crime bill this way. He'll probably say the Violence Against Women Act was bundled into that legislation, and I felt we had to have it, and that's why I did it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
which is. The way they do those bills, it is
like that. Yeah, they put horrible things. They put poison pills in them for
exactly.
Yeah. So, but that's legislation, and that's what it is. You have to make a tough decision. You have to fight the fights you can win is what it is.
Yeah.
And so they had to go. It also had the assault weapons ban in it, if you remember. So
it did.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Then whatever. I mean, Hillary. The problem with Hillary was, I like Bernie. Period. In terms of. Hillary,
I got to say, as much as, Hillary was dirtied up by the Republicans.
For 30 years or whatever, poison pilled forever.
Yeah. And when she was Secretary of State, those bogus Benghazi hearings, that was crazy.
Benghazi.
Yeah.
Her emails.
And her emails, which was stupid. It was really stupid. But the Russians, I mean, my God, they did such a number on her. They really did. And they suppressed so many African-American voters in those target states. And, I was watching Brad Parscale on the Sunday shows this weekend, and he's saying the same target states. He was naming Wisconsin, and he was naming Minnesota, and he was naming Pennsylvania, and right. And they're going to go back and do it again. I mean, the Russians did not go away, and now.
That's why you have to write those states off. I'll concede Wisconsin. I mean, but my very first day when I was phone banking for Bernie Sanders, I met this poor woman. She was not a poor woman. She was an amazing woman. She was super smart, French woman, and she was super scared about the forthcoming election. And I was like, Bernie this, Bernie that, and whatever. And then I ended up having to call her back because she asked me a lot of questions that I couldn't answer because I didn't know Wisconsin state politics. And I don't know if you do, but you should look into it because it's super creepy.
Oh, it's creepy.
Absolutely
Scott
bizarre.
Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Scott Walker was there, but it was
Union
busting. When you go into how the electors are and stuff, and all these judges, Republican judges that are in for life, it's just a nightmare. But on Facebook, that whole Pizzagate stuff, 2 weeks before the actual election, I knew that Trump was going to win because this actual smart woman was sending me these things about Pizzagate and Hillary and stuff, and I'm like, no. And of course she voted for Jill Stein.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it did work. That's the whole issue. And it's going to happen again. So this is another factor that has to come into our decision. Who is smart enough? Who is honest enough? Who is going to stand up on that stage and say, these memes, we track them. This is where they're coming from. And, it's not right. So who is smart enough? Who is daring enough? Who is going to do the hard work?
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal. To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
He is very concerned about violence by immigrants
He's very concerned about radical Islamic terrorism, but he's not concerned about white supremacy. And, this is who he is. When he is not on a teleprompter, we see what he really believes. And, if he wants to pretend that those people in Charlottesville were about Robert E. Lee and not chanting "Jews will not replace us," it's our job to point out the reality of what's going on there. People are going to believe what they want to believe, but that crowd was not about Robert E. Lee. That was a racist, anti-Semitic crowd, and that's the crowd he continues to this day to endorse.
Yeah, and so I don't want to bring up Venezuela in a big way today, but I will tell you, you have to know that Venezuela is having upheaval right now, in the streets, like a contretemps, like and it's all about who has the military behind them. That's where Venezuela's at right now. Okay, so you got this Maduro guy who won a sham election. Okay, he's Russia's preference. They are a petrol state. Russia loves Maduro. They love a dictator over there. They love this petrol state they want in. So you got this Maduro guy who won in a sham election, and then you've got this other guy named Guaido who isn't going to assume the presidency. He wants free and fair elections. He wants a redo. He wants a Maduro to leave so that they could have free and fair elections. So now what Guaido is doing, this guy who is like the head of the assembly, he doesn't want to be the president. He just wants another election. He's trying to get Maduro to leave, right? And so everything came down to who is the military going to show up for? Is the military going to show up for Maduro, or is the military going to show up for Guaido? And Guaido's been, all over the country trying to talk military people into supporting him and backing him and getting his behind. And Maduro's saying, no, I still got the. And so I'm looking at this morning and I'm thinking, is that how it plays out here? Is that how it, because Trump has said the military is on his side. The tough guys are on his side, right? The military and bikers. He actually enumerated white supremacists, the military, bikers, right? They're on his side. They're on his side. And so you have to consider this. The governors of every state are in charge of their National Guards. So does it come down to the U.S. military versus, let's say, California and New York's National Guard? I don't even want to go there, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at this stuff. I'm seeing, what it looks like when you're trying to undo a sham election, when you're trying to put fairness back into a system that's been broken, that's been taken over by a dictator, that's been taken over by, a foreign adversary inserting themselves into your election, and your election becomes a sham, right? And the thing in Venezuela is their economy just sucks, okay? So that's why the people are just beyond belief angry. I mean, they have hyperinflation. They have, the bolivars, the money. You need a wheelbarrow full of bolivars to buy a loaf of bread. And that's, and it's unconscionable because it's a very, very rich country. Now, of course, Republicans here are going to blame it on socialism. It has nothing to do with it. This has to do with a sham election and a dictator taking over. All right. And people trying to have their voices heard in a redo election. So maybe that's what 2020 is about here. I don't know. I'm very confused right now about where we're going. But I will tell you this. America under Donald Trump, there is no Republican Party. There's Trumpism. And Trumpism is so far to the right. It's so angry and it's so right wing to the point where, you've got 60 Fortune 500 companies don't pay any taxes. And a whole crap load of them actually get $10 billion back from the government, like Amazon. They get a rebate. Meanwhile, you make $18,000 to $45,000 a year, you're paying your taxes. But Amazon, no taxes. No taxes at all. In fact, today in the homework section, there is a whole New York Times article about profitable giants like Amazon paying zero in corporate taxes and how Americans are sick of it. Sick of it. And the fourth paragraph, it says it's a topic that several presidential candidates led by Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have hammered recently as they travel the campaign trail, spurred by a report that 60 Fortune 500 companies paid no federal taxes on $79 billion in corporate income last year. Amazon They're opening up a fulfillment center in an Akron mall that's been laying dead, a dead mall in Akron. It's going to hire 500 people. And they are the poster child for corporate tax avoidance. It had an effective tax rate below zero, and it's going to get a rebate. It's going to get an income of $10.6 billion from us to hire 500 people in Akron. You do the math and figure out how many millions of dollars it's costing you to create a job in Akron. I mean, that's just sick. So the question here for me is, did we go so far to the right that the middle is again palatable for Democrats? The middle of the road. Same old. And you know, it'll only last one term because everybody will say, well, we tried a Democrat and nothing changed. Nothing changed. And I could hear it now. People were telling me, oh, I was so disappointed in Obama. I thought he'd be a better president. I thought he would do. He said he was going to end the war in Iraq. He said he was going to close Guantanamo Bay. You know, Guantanamo Bay, there was an article over the weekend about how Guantanamo Bay is becoming a geriatric center. It's becoming a nursing home because those suspects who have never been tried are going to die there. And now they're having to give hospice care to these 40 men. I mean, this is sick. And I could hear it all over. I can hear it again. I can see it again. I can tell you. And everybody's going, we just got to get rid of Trump. We don't care about the policies. Really? Because he's such a virus. Because he's such an infection. Because he's so virulent. Because he's such a open, pussy gravy sore of a person. He's an oozing, necrotic, pussy gravy sore. That's what this president is. That we would say, you know, all we want is a Band-Aid. That's all we... I don't know. I'm afraid for you guys. Rob in Arizona.
Hi, Randy. Hey, before I talk about the candidates, I just wanted to say that I think... Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
That about the Hillary situation. I think once all the chapters are written about this president, her candidacy will be kind of a tragic victory for democracy, in that it's exposed everything that's going on in the conservative, political machine.
That's a good way to look at it.
So because if she had been elected, everything they were claiming her of, they would have just made her presidency very bad. And right now it's dismantling that machine. It's exposing people to show how WikiLeaks, how misinformation and all that is being exposed. So I hopefully, like when it's all written, it's a big sacrifice. But I think it's a good one for us.
But how many years do we have to wait before we can appreciate what happened here? I mean, this is just insane. This is 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago already. The Justice Department is getting away with it. Wall Street got away with what they did in 2008. No one got prosecuted. And it seems like the same damn thing has happened here, where Mueller was going to ride in on his white horse and we'd see, people held accountable. Nobody ever seems to be held accountable for anything they do to us.
When this is where the Democrats have to take the ball. Mueller
so that's what I'm saying. Wall Street, did anybody get prosecuted?
Right.
Right.
Right. But the fact that they can continue the exposure, and I'm not saying just the Democrats, but Congress in general, needs to continue the investigation and finish the Mueller investigation. Mueller basically said, hey, everything leads to this house, but I don't have the permission to go in. You guys do.
Yeah,
finish.
Right. Yeah, sure, right. Because he's listening to a rule that was written by the OLC that says if your president murders people on the street, you can't indict him. Really? I mean, this man he engaged in traitorous behavior. Traitorous.
Right.
And now they're actually... His lawyer is actually on the TV telling us, yeah, he did. So what? It's perfectly fine that he took help from obviously a foreign adversary. I mean, we were fighting on different sides in Syria. We're fighting on different sides in Venezuela. Well, we're not fighting, but I mean, just saying, our interests and Russia's are not aligned. They are not the same. And everybody's like, yeah, well, so we did it. So what? It's totally cool.
Clear. All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
In fact, his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said on this program just last week that there's no problem with the president, with the candidate, with the Trump campaign welcoming support from a foreign adversary such as Russia.
Yeah, that's a shocking statement, and it also just reflects how they have moved the goalpost when the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Recall at the beginning, they constantly said we didn't have anything to do with any Russians. And then when the truth comes out and reveals that that's a lie, now we have devolved down to there's nothing wrong with taking help, illegal help from a foreign adversary. Surely that's not where we've come to.
A lot of people think that Robert Mueller whiffed, that he should have pushed the envelope, he should have subpoenaed the president when he did not get a voluntary interview, and forced the president to take the fifth if he wants to.
Well, look, it's easy to sit in our armchairs and say what we would have done in those circumstances. I think what you see is that Robert Mueller did the job he was asked to do, and he called it right down the middle.
Some legal experts looking at the Mueller report look at the lines about Donald Trump Jr. saying that they wanted to interview him, were not able to, and then the next portion is redacted according to grand jury testimony with that code. Does that indicate to you, as it has to some legal experts, that Don Jr. may have gone in front of a grand jury and taken the fifth?
You know, certainly people have speculated as to that, and there's some indication of that, but I don't know for certain. But, you know, beyond that, it is absolutely remarkable to me that the President of the United States refused to sit down and answer questions about his or his campaign's involvement with the Russians.
It's stunning. And now, Donald Trump is suing Deutsche Bank to keep them from, fulfilling a subpoena that they asked for. Deutsche Bank asked to be subpoenaed, a friendly subpoena. They wanted that. They got that. Now he's suing because that's what innocent people do, right? Donald Trump threatens lawsuits against everybody. It is his MO. It is his standard business operating practice. Intimidate your adversary, threaten to sue them, and then settle. This is what that man does, okay? And now we're sitting here trying to get Bill Barr, who freaking lied about what was in the Mueller report, to go and testify in front of, he's going to the Senate tomorrow, but, it's the Senate. I mean, this is, a Burr from North Carolina is the chairman. This will be like, loving, and Lindsey Graham will praise him. Lindsey Graham has no shame. No shame whatsoever. These Republicans have no shame. Lindsey Graham is calling the Democrats political hacks, even though he's been confronted by reporters who point out clearly that Mueller says that Donald Trump's answers to the written questions were inadequate. He did not cooperate. They lied so much that Mueller actually said the lying had a material effect on his ability to find guilt.
One of the things that he noted in his report, there were at least 10 instances of the president trying to undermine the investigation. Why is that acceptable behavior to you?
Well, if you think it's impeachable behavior, impeach him. He didn't do anything to obstruct justice. Clinton did. He lost his law license for 5 years.
Because he impeached him.
Would a Democratic president really get this leeway from a Republican Lindsey Graham?
Well, my record is pretty clear. I voted against an article of impeachment where Clinton clearly lied, but it was about a personal matter. I thought it wouldn't be good for the office. I don't think it'd be good for the office of the presidency to impeach President Trump when he fully cooperated with the special counsel.
The special counsel said that was inadequate, his responses to the...
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
He said the written answers were inadequate.
Well, the president didn't have to talk to him.
They have an answer for everything. The president didn't have to talk to him. The president didn't talk to him, Lindsey. So tomorrow, Barr is going to go in front of the Senate with Lindsey Graham and with, Senator Burr, who was the guy who tipped off Donald Trump in the first place, that there was a counterintelligence investigation. I mean, this is just so sick. But he won't go to the House. Nadler is going to have to subpoena Bill Barr, our attorney general, because our attorney general is acting like he is Trump's attorney.
Going forward, we have the Mueller report and now William Barr threatening to not even appear before the House. That still has to be worked out. Did the attorney general, and I know you don't want to speak about the successors in the Justice Department, but what about the fact that he misrepresented the Mueller report in his initial 4-page summary, and in his news conference referred to collusion 4 times, not a legal term, but a signal apparently to the president, certainly, taking the president's words, and misrepresented it even minutes before the report itself was released.
Yeah.
Well, let me answer it this way, is that the Department of Justice is not just another federal agency.
Really?
And the Attorney General is not the president's lawyer. And I recall when I was named United States Attorney, we were all called to the White House for what was essentially a photo op with President Obama. And he came in, and the first words out of his mouth were, "I may have appointed you, but you don't represent me. You represent the people of the United States." And that's the way it's supposed to be.
And your implication is it's not the way it is right now.
Well, the people of the United States includes all the people of the United States.
So everybody agrees that Bill Barr is acting as Donald Trump's personal attorney and not the attorney general for all the people of the United States. In fact, Bill Barr is going to have to be subpoenaed to get him to testify on Thursday. You still got this Carl Klein dude who is supposed to testify about clearances. This is off the hook. The attacks on Congress by this president are unbelievable. Meanwhile, what is the Senate doing? They're packing the courts. So you got the judiciary being brought all the way to the right. I mean, all the way to fascist kinds of ill-equipped, unqualified, undeserving, almost disqualified judges being appointed. Remember Brett Kavanaugh's hearing. How did that go? Right? And then you have the Congress being attacked by the president. What is left? What is left for a check on this fascist power that this president has? That's why I just want everyone to be very sure that whoever our nominee is somebody who will be able to fight back when all of this 2016 crap plays out again, except this time with a court that's been packed and with a Senate that obviously will make an excuse for any damn thing this guy does. Anything. Just be sure. Bob in California.
Hi.
Hey.
Just enjoying some guacamole while I can still get avocados.
Oh, right.
I have an opinion, and I'd like your take on it, and that is somebody just told me, asked me, do you have a passport? I said, no. They said, well, you better get one. And I said, if fascism breaks out in the country and the red hats come down the street to drag the neighbors out of the house, I can't go because I'm a veteran. And we swore an oath to defend the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
What does that mean?
So it means that you have to defend the country against fascists.
And you will do that how?
By running out of the house with a kitchen knife if need be, a sworn oath.
I see. All right, well, good luck with that. I'm a veteran as well. And I don't see myself running out with a kitchen knife. I don't. I see myself saying, I've done everything I knew how to do to warn people. Bye-bye.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
We like who we are. We like the country our ancestors built. And we don't want millions of people coming in from Mexico or China or Nigeria and changing the place. It's the people who call us names who are abnormal. They want us to give our country away to foreigners.
It does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore. Massive demographic changes have been foisted upon the American people. And they're changes that none of us ever voted for, and most of us don't like.
Do you ever wonder why our country looks more like Honduras or El Salvador than the classic Americana of the 1940s and 50s? Well, you can thank changing demographics for that.
Psychologically, we need the wall on the southern border because we're scared that the demographic makeup of the country is changing.
Sneaking into the country and you have a kid in order to do it to maybe change the trajectory of generations.
We have less in common with our fellow Americans than ever before. Our cultures are different, our customs are different, and in many cases, especially in big cities, our languages are completely different.
There are so many communities across this country that have become dumping grounds for refugees who are not properly vetted and who have shown none of the qualities that we want in the people who come here. A sense of assimilation, attachment to Western and American principles.
But I do also think when someone says like, oh, I hate the Muslim invasion of Europe, this is wrong. That's not a purely religious complaint. They're also making a racial complaint. They're saying, I don't want my homeland, the European homeland, invaded by non-Europeans. And I agree with them.
Any nation should be upset and outraged when there's an invasion by foreigners into their country, people that have no respect for the rule of law.
Everything we love, everything we have built will be lost if we turn our country over to people who are not us.
You do realize during the Americana days that the white supremacists and the white nationalists and the racists, are remembering with fondness. You do remember that we had open borders during that period of time. Okay, I just wanted to say that. I mean, who do they think us is? What do they think America actually looks like? We are a mosaic. We have been for a really stinking long time. And I don't know what they're complaining about, except that this makes them money and it actually makes people violent. So I don't know what their issue is. I don't know why they think America doesn't look like America used to, because it looks exactly like it used to, except the people that were used to be here that weren't free are now still here, but now they're free.
It's kind of funny. Wouldn't it be a funny video if Chief Running Bear had the exact same video put out?
We ought to do that. We actually ought to do that, But you got to remember that all of this talk about dehumanizing human beings, which we all are, happened with the Irish. It happened with the Italians. It happened with the Jews. It happened... we had open borders during the halcyon days that they longed for. There were no walls. There were no borders. You could come and go as you please. People came here. They picked. They did all kinds of stuff. They went back. And El Paso is still like that. Lots of border towns are still like that. And people like it like that. These people are choosing to dehumanize human beings for profit. For profit. For money. It's just so sad and sick. So I just wondered, have we gone so far to the right now with this fascist talk and with this turning out of the lights so cockroaches like, this Jared dude, can come out of the woodwork and make their money again? Because we had this period in time where that was almost a joke. It was abhorrent. It was just like, please, you can't say that stuff in mixed company anymore. We actually have some integrity in our house. We actually like human beings, all of them. We realize we're part of one race. The human race is what it is. And that America has always been a nation of immigrants. No one's from here. What's wrong with you people? Right? That the comfortable middle looks appealing now. And then I'll just tell you, if that happens, fine. I'll vote that way too. Whoever the nominee is going to be my vote, right? I've told you that a million times. I will fall in love and then I will fall in line because that is what my country demands of me. Because that's the right thing to do for my country. That's how I respect the oath I took to protect and defend it from all enemies, foreign and domestic, like this fascist president that we have. That's how I read it. That's how I interpret my oath. Not running out of the house with a kitchen knife. Because, when, they have tanks and drones and aircraft, I don't see where my kitchen knife is going to be so effective. See what I mean? So I stand on the wall and I'm the Paul Revere. I warn you. I tell you. But if we go back to the middle, the comfortable middle, and nothing changes, I promise you, I swear, that 4 years from now, because the elections start 2 years before the freaking elections in this country, you'll be telling me, oh, I thought he was going to do more. Or, I thought we would see, tax rates go up to collect some money to build some infrastructure. Or, I thought that we would somehow stop the racism, or I thought that we would have a free college by now, or I thought that we would have whatever. I just want you not to come around and, people say, why are you being so hard on centrists? That's why, because I've lived through centrists, and you guys all get all excited about, Bush is a war criminal and he lied to you, which is true. And then you want to elect somebody who voted for the war, and you're going to expect a different result. I don't know. Tom in Mexico.
Yeah, how you doing?
Hey.
Randy.
Hola.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I got just something to say about, how, the Congress generally doesn't listen to the people. Neither the House nor the Senate or Congressmen, if they get elected in office, they do not listen to it. Well, I would say to the Democrats, I'm a Democrat, but how does it feel for the Senate, which is Republican, not to listen to the House? That's how we feel as people on the outside trying to talk to Congress. And then all of a sudden, I get my Social Security. And just an example, I get Social Security. My mom got Social Security. And all of a sudden, we got a 2.5% raise, and that went on Medicare. The 2.5% raise that I got went on Medicare. But what the Congress can do is, Trump needs $25 billion, or the pharmaceutical company wants a little favor, and and the money can be pushed that way, or tax write-off in their direction. And my anger and hostility is, how does it feel, the House? How does it feel to feel like us, the people? It's no good where the Senate is. It's bad, but that's what happened to us as people out here. This has been going on for years, and now the Dems are just getting a little sample of it, and it's not good. But there's nothing I can do.
There's nothing new about a Republican Senate and the House, or a Democratic president nominating a Supreme Court justice and a Senate that refuses to actually even have a hearing and instead chooses to hold the seat open for a year and a half so that they could put the likes of a Gorsuch, whose wife, by the way, Ann Gorsuch, was once held in contempt of Congress. Okay? I mean, you're trying to make a point about nothing that's new or different at all. And these young congresswomen, they're very responsive.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh, let's give a shout out to Gene, who just corrected me that Ann Gorsuch is Gorsuch's mother, not his wife. Ann Gorsuch, that was held in contempt of Congress, is Justice Gorsuch's mother. That's how, entrenched in the establishment these families are. All right. I don't know who this is. Hello. Oh, Mark and
Hello.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm fine.
That's good. We was neighbors once upon a time. You lived in Canarsie. I lived in East Flatbush.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yep.
You, me, Howard Schultz.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, all us Brooklyn kids. And we're Brooklyn Jews, so we're not really white. We are still not quite white.
What are
anyway,
we?
You started off. I don't know. I don't know. But we don't. We pass.
How is it possible that we are literally?
We pass as white.
We are literally from the Caucasus. We are the definition of Caucasian. Jesus was the king of the Jews. How is it possible that there's something unchristian or unwhite about people from the Caucasus whose Lord is the king of our religion? I just don't get it. I don't get, all these things that divide us.
One of the great mysteries.
Oh,
so you were on the subject of
at last I found you. Yes.
On the topic of the pragmatism of a lot of the Democratic electorate, I was watching Stephanie Rule the other day. She had Michael Steele on, And he said, look, you want to be woke or you want to win?
Yeah, I heard that.
I thought it was a really good question.
It's not a good
I thought
question.
he put that really well.
It's not a good question, okay? It's only a good question if you're talking about
Can
whether...
you do both?
Of course you could do both.
Hello?
Why is it that they pick the most fascist candidate they can find, and that guy is electable, but God help us if we pick somebody who believes that the corporate tax rate ought to be higher than 0? It just blows my mind. It's just, why are we wrong to pick a person who doesn't think that war is the answer to any of our problems, and then they, the party of patriotism, runs a guy who won't even serve, and he's anti-war, and he's electable. These are false choices. Do you want to be woke or do you want to win? That's a false choice. Why can't I do both? Why can't I? This is ridiculous. It makes no sense to me. Joe Lockhart from The Establishment, he's got an op-ed saying, no, we shouldn't impeach Trump because there's a bigger prize. And the prize is we could win an election. And if we impeach him, we won't win the election. Well, there are a bunch of people out here that think that if you don't impeach a guy who worked with a foreign adversary, he'll do it again. Just saying, there are many schools of thought here. Daniel in Colorado.
Hi, Randy. It's so happy to speak to you again. I love the new studio. Thanks to your team for all their hard work.
Thank you. Looks like we did all this for nothing, though, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I like it.
Well, I like it, too. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. I was just going to bring up that back in the day when Barack and Hillary were running against each other, Hillary at that time had most of the black vote locked up, and it was thought that she would keep it. So I just kind of wanted to add to the conversation that sometimes we're for someone until we're not.
Well, listen, it's very early, and I really do resent if there's resentment politics to be played here. I really, really resent how early we start polling people about who their favorite is. You know why? Because Americans love a winner, and if you're on top in the polls, then people see you as the winner before we actually choose the winner. It's all, right. And that's why they say politics is all perception. And I just hate that we're polling people 5 seconds into, 20 candidates. There's 20 candidates, and 5 seconds into it, we're saying, okay, we got our winner. I mean, I just don't understand it. They won't even wait for the first debate. Is that real? How does that happen?
It's too difficult. Yes, it's too difficult to tell them to wait. They want to microwave it and say, hey, we're going to put these people in and whichever popcorn pops.
But democracy isn't for the microwave. Democracy is a slow and low. It's barbecue, okay? Democracy has to be slow and low and seasoned well. and it takes time and takes love. And you could taste the love when you do slow and low. But when you don't do slow and low, it comes out tough like a shoe.
Yep. Well, and you come out with everybody being mad at somebody.
Yeah, and
their
dissatisfied.
Candidate didn't get a fair shake and this, that, and the other.
And dissatisfied with the result because the result was made based off of, a perception, not off of a reality.
Popularity.
Yeah.
Popularity contest. Who's the prettiest trinket right now? And you're right, it's totally ridiculous. We should wait until there are debates. We should wait until everybody can lay out what their policies are and then choose that person based on who is going to be able to steer the ship the best.
Yes, and who's going to actually do the right thing when no one's looking? Who's actually going to take on the pharmaceutical companies? Who's actually going to, take on these banks? Who's actually going to, say credit card contracts aren't even legal? Nobody even understands them. Okay,
and right now the only person talking that is Senator Warren.
Well, you got Bernie, you got Elizabeth,
and Bernie.
You have. I mean, God only. Buttigieg is a blank slate. Do we even know what his policies are? No.
I really kind of love him.
Well, a lot of people do, and we're allowed to love him. We're allowed Right? And so it's just not fair. I mean, nobody's even gotten around to their policy. Buttigieg wanted to show his principles first, where he's from,
Right.
as far as his heart and as far as his mind, and when they meet, what the policy looks like. But at first he wanted to explain to the American people what informs policy for him are his principles. It is his character.
Right.
So get to know my character, get to know my principles, and then we'll lay out policy. And already 5 seconds into it, people are rejecting him because, he doesn't lay out policy. All right. So then you have Elizabeth Warren. She leads with policy. They go, well, she's not human enough. I can't relate to her because she's all policy all the time. Stop being like that.
It's like
Just
it's like you
drives me-
always said, Democrats whine.
Oh, whiny.
They whine.
Very whiny. Very, very whiny. And just, I just want to win. And I'm so sick of it. I just want to win. And so we have to be woke or we have to win. No, false choice. Do not believe people who say that. People who say that to you are going to be Republicans. Kathy in California.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
My birth sister, longtime fan.
Oh, hi.
Now, hi. I called in because I want to talk about the need for impeachment and also accountability, because I think this has gone on for decades. And I think this whole thing of going from, we can't win if we don't impeach. Now, God help me, I loved Obama. One of the biggest things I was mad at him about is he didn't address what Bush did. And before that, we had Iran conflict, and people are not held accountable. And the same schmucks that were involved in these things are right back here now. Nothing changes.
So what happens is that in order to move forward, the new president says, all is forgiven, let's just move forward.
I know.
But guess what happens? The executive becomes even stronger to the point where Congress loses its ability to check the power of a unitary executive. Cheney played that game, and Obama let him play that game. And, right, and with the banks, same damn thing. I mean,
same thing.
Right,
and then we have to sit here and we have to wonder why 40-some% of our country doesn't vote either way.
That, and why there's so many people who are working and still living in poverty. That's a sin. You want to look back at a better time, a halcyon day in America? Look back at the time when a single job, a low-paying job, paid your mortgage.